You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied. Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republic has succeeded. This is about Amazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia. Donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Greetings to all of you watching us, especially those in the home front, those in neighboring countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and everyone all over the diaspora. This is The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman. I would also start by saying Happy New Year again. The year is still new. We are in the second month. And to those who didn't get our New Year wishes before, we extend a hearty, healthy New Year to you all. Today on The Horizon, we have 3 topics. This month, February, is Heart Health Month, and we'll also be remembering what happened 5 years ago on February 14th, 2020, the Ngarbuh Massacre, because this is the 5th anniversary. We also want to do some introspection, meaning that we want each Ambazonia to look inside themselves. But I will have the guests talk about this some more. We want to discuss the Ambazonian Spirit. So without further ado, I want to welcome one of our special guests who is not a stranger to the program, Dr. Winnie Lobati to shed light on all these topics. Welcome, Ma Winnie.
Thank you, my patients. Fellow viewers, back at the home front, in diaspora, and scattered all over the world. Thank you for having me come into your homes again or on your devices. These days, we don't only deal with the traditional television, but we also deal with handheld devices. So thank you for watching, and thank you for being with us. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate being a guest. I'm not really more a guest. I think I should say I'm a household name now. Yes.
Exactly. We just use the word guest to be politically correct, but you are really one of us, you're a family member of this program. You know, this journey to Boya started long time ago. Our forefathers did what they had to do, all the way starting in Enugu, and then when they went to West Cameroons, and they were based in Boya, they continued working for us. And the initial goal, the ultimate goal, was to have a land where we're able to do things for ourselves, govern ourselves, and for people to just seek to be happy. Because the essential thing in life is pursuit of happiness. That's what everybody's trying to achieve, pursuit happiness. So today we are here more than 64 years, and this is 2025, and we want to tackle this topic, the Ambazonian Spirit. What does it mean to be a patriot, to really want to succeed in this journey? And then after we succeed, what do you do to make sure your nation is thriving? But that is a story for another time. Ma Winnie, I just want to find out, we're talking about a time for introspection. And I mentioned that our forefathers have been working, and we have names like E.M. Endele, Joa, Honorable Joa. Some people may even recognize the name late Abendong. I will even call Esti Muna, because if you remember the last time we were on the program, we did mention his letter resigning from the Constitutional Consultative Committee. The other names like Egwe, E.T. Egwe, B.T. Saka, Motambi Walate, Mbile, the names go on, and Mawini, you probably know some of the names. But I bring up these names to show that these are people that were very, very powerful, and they stood for something. So let's start from the beginning. What does it mean? What does the word introspection mean, Mawini?
Introspection is really, it's a word that means you really sit back. To make it simple, sit back, take a look, assess, and reflect on a cause or something you've been doing. And think about it from how you feel about it, your mental feeling, your emotions. And I would say the most important part is to reflect on those actions, your thought process, and even your motives. The psychology will have it a little bit different to your thoughts and feelings. But if let's say if you were carrying out a project, you will want to see and retrace your steps and see what you did. Those will be actions, and how you went about it. That will be a thought process. But when it comes to Ambazonia, we have all these things that as a nation we have to do, as individual or citizens of that nation we have to do. And so it becomes really, it's like what people say, stop and take stock. Say, take stock of how not just inventory, because inventory will be what do I have and what is left or what is on hand, but it's what did I do, how did I get here, what worked and what didn't work. If it was an organization, they will call it a SWOT analysis. So for us, we do it as individual and as a nation. We look back.
That's great. So that's great for each person to look within themselves and take a personal stock of what they've been doing for the struggle. So based on that explanation, Dr. Lobati, how can each Ambazonian truly do an introspection as related to the struggle? So we're making this a personal duty. How, if you consider yourself a bona fide Ambazonian, how will you tackle this topic?
Okay. I was just trying to write myself some notes here. Okay. I want to start. There are those who are involved and those who are not involved and those who do not care at all. So our introspection will be different depending on the category that you fall in. And for those who are involved, take a look at yourself. I've been involved in this. Am I making headway to support the struggle in a manner that gets us faster to Buea? Am I giving it my time, my money, my intellect, my spiritual awareness, prayers, or whatever? Am I giving it my all? And if you were just somebody that has been in the periphery and we call it at the fence, take a stock. Is it time for you to plunge in the deep end of the struggle and make sure that we get to Buea? If you were never interested, take a stock and see, what are people really saying? What has been lost that people are so crazy about that they want it restored? So vary from one individual to another depending on your level of involvement. So there is the involvement part, the not so involved, just let me go in and out, vacillate, and then the completely not so involved. You could be not involved, not because you don't want to, but because you don't care, or because you think others will do it and I'll come and harvest the fruit. So the truth is, involvement, when you have a I live in the state where the Kansas City and the Patriots of Philadelphia had their last game, I think 2 weeks ago, is it? And I went to work and my team lost. Okay, we were hoping they were going to be dead roll in the Super Bowl. And so when I met my colleagues, not knowing what part is, I said, "Did you have a horse in the race? If you have a horse in the race, then you are involved. Then you care to see that they win, that your horse wins that race. But if you don't have a horse in the race, it doesn't matter to you. One way or the other, nothing to lose." So, do you have a horse in the race of the Ambazonian struggle? That question I want to leave with each one of us. Then take an introspection of yourself and your involvement and recalibrate to see how you can do better.
Okay, so when you were talking, I was jotting down a few things because the recent journey to Buea really began in 2016 with the teachers and lawyers going on the strike. And let's remember that when they did this, their initial goal was for the government to make some basic changes that had to do with the legal situation and the educational system. Of course, they were looked down on and not regarded at all, basically because they were not considered important. So when I look back, think about 2016, 2017, 2018. So it's really been almost 10 years. If you count 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. The question is, talking about introspection, Winnie, you asked that question. Where were you during this period of time? What were you thinking? How has your belief morphed over time, right? So there were some people that were active, really active in the process of changing from the consortium to the governing council to SCACUF to governing council to the interim government, now to the full-blown government. There were people in that journey that made important decisions that were part of the process. There were people that are in the ground giving advice to this individual. So they are not being seen or heard, but they are giving advice to enable us to be on the right path. There are people, when the idea of LGA, defending your hometown, LGA by county by LGA came about, there were people that were very visible LGAs working hard to make sure that those LGAs and counties are strong and thriving and doing what they need to do. So when you think about all this, Winnie, you realize that some people have fallen on the wayside. Some people are just quiet. And during this period of times, there has been agitation. There have been strifes in the system, making people fall short of what they really intended to do. And there are people that are financial backbone that have been committed year to year to year, some of them putting in their widow's mite, some of them putting in based on how much they have, giving money that they could use for something else in the struggle. So when we're talking about introspection, we're looking to all of those. And then, Winnie, there are some individuals who have just been causing chaos, because I think that I will just bring this up here and ask you to even reflect on this. There are individuals who have tried to derail this journey, and I start by thinking about Sissoko Ayub-Tabe that was and the Naira 10 that were arrested and taken to Yaoundé. I think I came across something written by Chris Ebini somewhere, and I have put his name down, a poem on them, saying that those were the people that helped and now we've neglected them. And I reflected. I didn't respond to him in the forum that I saw it, but I reflected and I thought, and I was really offended, because I believe that if Sissoko Ayub-Tabe, maybe I should know, if Ayub-Tabe had just given the support to President Sako, that this is the person that is out there, and he was quiet there, then there would be further momentum for us to pursue. We would have been closer to Boya. So the reason I'm bringing this up, thinking about introspection, I hope this gets to them, because they can see how they've brought us backwards. Winnie, I've spoken a lot because I just thought about it. I like you to talk about this particular subject as regards to these individuals.
Before I even talk about those individuals, you said something at the beginning. Let's say the peak of this struggle culminated in 2016. Mind you, from day one of our independence, some of our forefathers already started fighting for us to have our own state. Molanjo Lutumbe, one of those. Mm-hmm. There were many. I heard there was a Boya Mountain Club, whatever group, which was also one of those groups that was trying to recalibrate and educate, they preserve. I always say they held the little flame that was going to ignite what we are seeing today. Some of our forefathers said they didn't want bloodshed. They would leave the battle for their children to fight. They were afraid of spilling their own blood, and then we are the ones now spilling the blood. or having our blood spilled. So we're talking about that. The race for this struggle and the restoration of our true statehood is a marathon and not a sprint. It's not a 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash. It's a marathon. And with marathon, you need endurance to go further. And so along the way, people will drop. In marathons, they give up. Only a few will get to the finish line. For whatever reason that they may drop. It could be health, it could be exhaustion, it could be something. So it's understandable that when you have a marathon, which the struggle, you categorize it as a marathon. That in other circumstances, you could say a relay. The baton gets passed from one person to the other. Are you going to be that person that drops the baton and be kicked out of the race? Or are you going to be that person that carries the baton and passes it to the next person so that the relay continues? Let me just look at some of the category of the people that I will say have dropped the baton down. Those who are advocating for decentralization of La République de Cameroon, and also including Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia as part of the process of the decentralization. Number one, they miss it all. Number two, those who are advocating for federation. That is how we came into being, saying we were going to be a federated state, 2 federated states. And that never happened. And lies were spoken. People spoke and spoke lies, and they knew that was not their ulterior motive. It was falsehood. And those who are in the current struggle, but their goal is to sabotage. And they sabotage for various reasons. One, control. One, money. One, if it's not me, can be you. I'd rather destroy it than you getting credit. The one their names somehow, somewhere, as the people that matter. So when we look back and see, and from 2016, we'll leave that of our fathers and parents. Let's pack them. They already, most of them are gone. They are gone. If they were alive, most of them will be in their 90s and 100. They are gone.
Yeah.
The relay baton is in our hands. Are we taking that relay baton to move to the ultimate, which is the restoration of our sovereignty and statehood? Or are we taking it to go say, I've been eating with this neighbor for a long time. I like their bongo chobi, so I not just want me my achu anymore. So let me continue eating the bongo chobi or whatever. Rather than let me go back home and take care of my kids, even if we have kowata gari and sugar and granite, we'll eat it. Versus let me go get whatever I can get out of this. So we all have to still look at this. Yes, you name some names, you call some people that we look at and we may point fingers. In the days of our forefathers, fingers were pointed at individuals. We can point fingers, we can look at different things and say, if they had only done this, this would have changed. No guarantee that if they had even done that, La République would have. La République is very recalcitrant, and they are being backed by France. It is France not wanting to lose its grip on the resources that we have in Southern Cameroon. And as we understand that, then it makes it easier to see why at all length they will go to create a semblance of we want to solve this problem. And we want, and they cherry pick the people that are not going to be of any consequence in pushing for the true and absolute restoration of our sovereignty and independence as so-called leaders that they are imposing on us. You know, this is something that started when Jua was prime minister. We had a parliamentary system of government where the party that had the most parliament representatives now chose the prime minister. But Abiedu single-handedly shut down the parliament, cancelled it, picked a new prime minister and speaker of the house and put them in, and in so doing just single-handedly killed and destroyed our type of governance that we had. And they are still doing it today.
Right.
How do they do it? They call a meeting in, they say, oh, we're in Switzerland process. After they say, oh, no, we didn't send anybody there. No, we're not part of this. We're not receiving this. And then in a few minutes, in a few weeks, they turn and use the organizations that were working in the Switzerland-led process and say, hey, can you sponsor us a trip to Canada and let's go talk with some of these people. Now they cherry pick whoever they want and take them to Canada and talk whatever they want and start handing out envelopes. Those messages all come out. La République, hello, we know them, we hear them, and it still leaks. You pay them on the ground and put fake Amba fighters and then cause chaos so that the civilians will give up, and they didn't. And you just tormented the civilians through your proxies, and today we are placed because one, greed, power, and people not being willing to lay down their lives, their ego, their power mongering for the common good of everyone.
Wow. You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about those who are in the home front, their sacrifices. This topic of introspection, it's not just for those in the diaspora. It really also affects those who are at the home front. You know, they have year in, year out stood their ground and respected ghost towns and country Sundays. And you just mentioned about those who are doing ills on our people in the name of the fake Amba boys, because these fake Amba boys, you know, as we know, the outshoot of La République with the goal of negating our cause, with the goal of making people frustrated. So when we talk about introspection, we are including those of our brothers and sisters in the home front to also look within themselves. If you know those who are doing all these negative Amba activities and giving us a bad name, what are you doing about it? Well, I think I'm going ahead of myself, because I'm going to have to ask Winnie in a few minutes the question of how can, but before I do that, you mentioned SWOT analysis earlier when you were talking. How does SWOT analysis differ from introspection? Because we want to just briefly talk about that.
Okay. SWOT analysis you would use that when you're working with an organization or on a project to analyze and assess and probably even do quality, what we call quality improvement and quality management. And SWOT just deals with strength. What are the strengths of your organization or your and what are the weaknesses within that organization, or what are the opportunities that you have, and what are the other things that you could be wrestling for and may be in a transition phase that you may need so that you can use and just grab a hold of it. So with the government or with our struggle, sometimes those are very key, important things that we can do. But when it comes to individual, you do that for yourself. But with SWOT, you actually do need you need an organization to do that as a team, not just not just one person doing it.
Yeah.
So one important area we in our SWOT analysis as Ambazonians we really need to do is look at the threats, because the S stands for strength, the W stands for weaknesses, the O stands for opportunities, and the T stands for threats.
Right.
We have strength, our tenacity. We're keeping it, even if the few remnant that may be that may still stand, they are standing, just like our forefathers kept that flame. They kept the flame. But thank God, what is one of the strengths? We can use social media. We can use the media now to sell our story. That's one of the strengths. What are all the other weaknesses? All these varying voices that create divergent opinions that make it difficult. Like you have the people with decentralization, federalism, and the sabotage. Those are divergent. We can all have a purpose, one purpose, but with varying a process of how to accomplish it. That will be welcome. How you view it, and then you can talk and you can sit and collaborate and see, hey, yes, we all want to go to Buea, and I think we should go this route. And the other person think we should go through Bokwangu, or someone say, let's go back around the mountain. Some will say, let's go through Tico, or let's go through this, or through Munya, whatever route. However, some may say, let's take a helicopter. Some may say, let's take a car. Some may say, let's take Okada. Some may say, let's ride a bicycle. Some may say, let's walk on foot. But we all want to get there. So the weaknesses that we may have that are significant are the sabotage, the federalists, and the one Cameroon people. Those are our weaknesses. The saboteurs, let me use the French word, people who are just out to sabotage the whole process. They claim to be inside, but they are really working for the people outside. Then, when we come to the opportunities, what are the opportunities we have? We have the opportunity of putting our story out in the international community in various facets. We've done so. We had different demonstrations, and we've written letters, those of us in different countries in the West. We've reached out to senators, we've reached out to presidents or parliamentarians, for those who are in other countries, or House of Lords or House of Commons, depending on what part of the world you might be. We've reached out to those. Those are some of the opportunities that have been laid. But what are the threats to us? The threats are those people that are internally within the system actually putting a hole in the ship so that we sink. And those that are, I would rather take somebody that is openly, blatantly saying, I'm a federalist, I'm a one Cameroon, I deal with you and know how to deal with you easily, than the one who is inside and sabotaging from within. That is the most difficult threat that we have. And we have to kind of take our time and reevaluate as a people, entity, government, LGA, counties, and see, are some of these threats self-inflicted wounds, or are people, some of the threats Are they because people are just tired because it's a marathon and not a sprint?
Thank you so much. Winnie, when you were talking, I just felt that I have to put out some names that originally I didn't think I should use these names, but I'm going to call it out. When you were talking about threats, and you said that some of them are those who aspire for federalism or one Cameroon, things like that. It's a threat that we hope those in the home front know that they are a threat. And I'm talking about somebody who calls himself comrade and also calls himself the president. It looks like he's confused. He calls himself Comrade Chris Ano, and then also in the same breath calls himself the president. This individual is a threat because he gives the fake illusion to the international community that we are not united, because he has a platform that he uses to expose or talk about things that are not really true and gives false information. So I see him as a threat. And the only way to deal with threats like this is for people not to follow him. And this message is going to those who are in the home front, that if you stop listening to somebody like this and pay your attention to the government of Southern Cameroons with your president, President Sako, who is doing everything that he can do, reaching the right quarters, and not someone who's already been bought by La Republic to make sure that we don't get to the ultimate destination, Boya, then we'll be in this journey for a long time, wandering in the wilderness like the Israelites did because they did not obey God. There's another threat that is looming, and this is in the name of Milam Atam, because I saw a document somewhere that he calls himself the leader of some alliance. Where are these people coming from? Because if we think back to where we started, and I mentioned this in the beginning, the journey from consortium to SCACUF to governing council to interim government to the government, that is a stretch. That is you can find the pathway to where we are now. And anybody who wants to be in the system, anybody who is a true Ambazonian, a patriot, has to work in the system and not try to find offshoots where they can do, as Winnie said, there are people that are just seeking power, or they want the notion that if it's not me, it should not work. We have to be bright, open-minded, and see those threats for what they are. So while we're doing introspection, looking within ourselves, we have to be able to figure out the threats that we have, the weaknesses, and know what we need to do to make sure that they don't take us off our path. They don't take us to Yaoundé instead of Boya. So, Winnie, as we conclude this topic on introspection, I'm going to ask this question about, so we've already talked about it bits and bits, but I want you to put it together. How can we as individuals then refocus and be re-energized so that we can state the course, so that we can be on the right course until we reach Boya?
The first thing I would say is doing the introspection of yourself. Let me use an economic term that is the opportunity cost, or the foregone alternative. You have two things to choose. You have limited resources, and you can only pay for one. The one that you value the most, you pay for it and keep it. And the one that you don't value will be the foregone alternative. Say bye-bye to that. We have only one alternative here. Federalism, decentralization, sabotage, and all whatnot, it's staying with La Republique. That's how I see it. The only opportunity we have here is to stand our grounds, state the course, remain hopeful, preach the gospel of the restoration of our sovereignty, and do the very best that you as an individual can do to move us 1 inch closer to Boya, with your time, with your resources, with your intellectual capacity, with your kindness, with your spiritual capability, whether you're praying, and with your honesty. One thing I look and I fear that we are losing is few of our parents are alive that experienced and were living at the time of independence. Most of them were very young, and so they can just tell us a little bit glimpse of things, and who experienced then the so-called West Cameroon government for a brief period of time before it was eradicated. And most of them, as would say, they are retired, they are aging, and most of them will be gone in the next 20 years or less. So, what do we need? We need to gather information from these our parents. We need to get facts from them. We need to know what they lost so that we can use that to build on. It will be one rung on the ladder as we go up through this process. We need to stand on that foundation so that we can remember, we can know what we lost, and then we can now say, hey, I can let go of this. We're not talking about technology that today you have a new phone and a better phone comes out and you throw. No, we're talking about the foundation of our freedom, of our statehood, of our country that was lost. And that is why I would say it for most of you at the home front, trying to go across the Sahara Desert to get to Europe. It's because we lost the opportunity that we had. If we had our country and rightful leaders and our sovereignty, we would have built a nation that would have stood, and many of us would be back home. Many of us would be building a nation, putting infrastructure, giving opportunities for our youth today to learn. Majority of our youth today, they only know one guy that is the president of La Republique of the Cameroon. That's who they know. They know nothing else. At least some of us remember Abiedu, even though he was the brain that was, let me not even say brain, he was the one that was used to navigate, and he was really the puppet that was used. And probably he had a charisma better than Paul Biya. I think that is the charisma that allowed him to be able to penetrate and get, but he was also very, very, people feared him. Nobody dare called his name. Growing up, I remember people were, because you were afraid of being picked up. So we've lost a lot, and that the stakes are high. Please, as an individual, just know that the common good for every Amazonian is for us to have our statehood. There will be times to politic and have all the wonderful Anglo-Saxon methods of democracy that we want, whichever one we choose. However, whether it's parliamentary system or it's a whichever, whether it's the American style of democracy or it's the European style or whichever, there will be that day. But you can't have that until we get our sovereignty. So let's not let this pass on to another generation. Let's not drop the baton. Let the relay continue. we get to Buea. And let's take that flame and go put it on the, I will call it the big torch. That flame that has been given to us, and we're running to Buea. And when we get to Buea, let's touch that big flame that shines and burns and bright to say, hey, our sovereignty has been restored. Our nation, we start nation building.
Thank you so much, Winnie. We have concluded this part of the program today, but I want to just use this word to encourage those who are listening that if you've been on this journey and you want to make sure that we reach that destination, Buea, then you have to work harder. We need our people to be more patriotic. When you do this introspection and you can learn, and you learn to where you can qualify yourself as a patriot, then you're in the right place. So the question that we end this topic with is, how patriotic are you? How patriotic are you? And those who have been in part of the government over time that are doing things that are unpatriotic, we know them. You know them. It's your duty to call them up. It's your duty not to support them, because if someone doesn't have a following or supporters, they will have nowhere to put their voices. Nobody is listening to them. So they will be essentially, with time, insignificant. So you don't give them the power. How patriotic are you? Thank you so much, Winnie. We're going to move to the next topic that has to do with the month of February. We have two important subject matter. One has to do with what happened 5 years ago, the Ngarbuh massacre that touched our core. I mean, those of us who remember back then, waking up and seeing the news of that disaster, that calamity. I just want to read exactly so that you remember. As we look at the pictures, you remember. He said, at that time, he says, and this is from BBC, at least 22 people have been killed in an attack on a village in northwest Cameroon, the United Nations says. Over half those killed in Tumbo were children, and local media reports that several victims were burned alive. No one has claimed responsibility for Friday's incident, but an opposition party blamed the army. Cameroon's government, which has been fighting separatists in the region for 3 years, denied involvement in the attack. James Nonan, an official from the UN's Humanitarian Coordination Agency, OCHA, told the BBC that a pregnant woman was among those killed. 14 children, including 9 under the age of 5, were also among the dead, he said. Mr. Nonan said the incident had terrified the local population. Whichever group has done this has threatened that there will be more violence ahead, he said. The people we've spoken to are extremely traumatized and didn't expect this. In a statement, one of the country's main opposition parties, the Movement for the Rebirth of Cameroon, blamed the dictatorial regime and the head of Cameroon's security forces for their attack. I will end here for now, but we want to reflect, we want to think about this, because this is the anniversary, and we never want to forget. We never want to forget this disaster. There are many disasters that have happened, but this is just the anniversary of the Ngarbuh massacre, and so we think we should talk about it so that our people never forget. And the reason this is also important, because when we just talk about introspection, when you think about why you want to remain a patriot, a true Ambazonian, things like that should be things that bring you to yourself and say, I can never live with a people that kill my people in this manner. And we know that they do this because they don't consider us human beings. They think we are not cockroaches and roaches. And so I am just trying to get to my questions. My Winnie, bear with me. I had it in my here we go.
Right.
So based on this, I just read the topic. How can we give hope to the survivors of the Ngarbuh massacre today?
Whenever I talk about the Ngarbuh massacre, I remember the other massacres that have happened in our community. I just use the Ngarbuh as also to remind people. We had Guzan massacre. We had all the other massacres that happened in Muyuka area there, and we've just had so many massacres. Whether it's the Kumba kids that were killed in school massacre, all those. I don't want to elevate one over the other and make as though the lives of a certain group of people that were massacred were more important than the other. But it is the day that this happened was, I think, was it 14th or 15th of February?
14th.
Yeah. And 14th to the general population and the world is supposed to be a day of love. Valentine's Day. And so, if on such a day that was supposed to be a day that people show love and kindness to each other, it was used to show wickedness and disaster. So we can use that as the torchbearer to remember all the other massacres that have happened. So, how can we do, what can we really do so that we leave, this doesn't get stamped out or wiped out, and give hope to our survivors? A day of reckoning is coming. I hate to say this. La Republique denied it, eventually accepted it, and claimed that they were putting their the perpetrators on trial. I don't think I've heard of any final verdict on those that were accused and stood on trial or are being tried. Let me put it that way. I've not had any verdict. Unlike the trump-up charges that were thrown at Ambazonians and the leadership of Ambazonia that were kidnapped from Nigeria and put in jail, and then they started playing around with them. I've not. Yes, the international community said something about this. They are aware of it, and I know they've locked it in their system. And for those of you who want to know more about all the other massacres, to tell you the genocide that is ongoing in Ambazonia, go to AmbazonianGenocideLibrary.com. I hope I gave the address right. Is it right? AmbazonianGenocideLibrary.com. Go there. You will find more massacre that have happened over this past period since 2016. I will use 2016 because that's when the uprisings started. So look at that. Go into that website. Look at it. You will see. Some of them are so gruesome. Whether it's a child thrown in red boiling oil, or is it baby mother killed, or is a child going to school and shot by on the way to school. There's a lot on there for those seeking information to know that what we are saying. But we don't want to forget and make these people. Let me put it this way. Once we get to Boya, things like this that had happened, if these things are not addressed by the criminal court of justice, or I don't even want to call another name, or ICC or IJC or human rights, if they cannot press charges against the government of La République du Cameroon, because they are the ones who give those instructions for kill whatever they can kill. If they cannot do that, at some point as a government of Ambazonia, we will probably press charges, or at the negotiation table, compensation will be required of them for all these lives that perish.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know it's hard for the victims because there's no end in sight of seeing that there's closure. There's never really closure, or at least something to tell them that the perpetrators have been convicted and tried and put in prison. There's nothing. But we have our own plans.
Yes, Winnie, you mentioned about not hearing any legal maneuvers on this topic yet. So let me just read what I've seen, the most recent write-up on the what they've done in terms of a trial. It says, during the last hearing, in December 2020, a trial opened before a military court in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, marking an important step towards accountability for the massacre. However, the trial has dragged on and been marred by irregularities. Hearings have been postponed multiple times. Victims' families have minimal participation in the proceedings, and the court has refused to admit key evidence, including death certificate. Senior officers have not been arrested or charged. During the last real hearing on the massacre on November 16, 2023, witnesses did speak and some investigative reports were presented. But since then, the trial has been postponed 3 times, casting doubt on the ability of the military judicial system to deliver accountability for military abuse. It is scheduled to restart this week. The trial provides a rare opportunity for justice, not only for Ngarbuh victims, but for all those who have suffered from military abuse during the crisis in Cameroon's Anglophone regions. With yet another hearing on the horizon, now is the time for judicial authorities to avoid further delays and commit to deliver justice. So this, what I'm reading, was the most recent thing that I got, and this was written in December of 2024. I mean, February of 2024. So that's almost a year ago. So we see that the system is so corrupt that even for real calamity, real disaster that is so open that the international community is aware of, the government cannot even do a trial within 1 year to give some sort of peace to the families of the victims. That is the Cameroon that some people want to be part of. But also remember that there's this community against torture that held proceedings last year in Geneva. And they didn't mention the Ngarbuh massacre. So the Cameroon government may think that they're not doing anything about it, but they are in the books. And one day, they will pay the price for this. Winnie, do you have anything else to say on this, so that we're going to be moving to the, I have some few questions for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like we said, that is the Ngarbuh massacre is not lost. All the other massacres have not been expunged. Let me use that word. Expunge is something that they use in the court system. They've not been expunged from the system or the truth of what La République has done. There's a day of reckoning, and that reckoning is coming. Sometimes the hand of justice is so slow that we get tired and we wait and wish it will come faster. Unfortunately, the hand of justice, when it concerns La République de Cameroon, is deny, pretend, delay, and let's see if it will be forgotten, and let nothing be done, and we just give a semblance that something is being done. I don't think La Republique really intends to bring to trial the abuses of its military personnel. But guess what? The international community will one day.
Yeah. All right. So, based on what we've read and what you've spoken, what you've told our people about, I want to just ask you this final two questions on this topic. What can we do to give hope? What can we do to keep hope alive for all Ambazonians, and especially those who have been directly victimized by La Republique du Cameroon's torture and massacres carried out in Ambazonia?
I would like to list like a few things that we can do to help. One of this is our story needs to be told. It's not stale. It is not old. We need to keep talking about it. I will put an analogy. Do you hear what is happening between Gaza and Israel? Do you hear people ever stop talking about it? It's on the news all the time. They talk about whether you are pro-Israel or you're pro the Palestinians. You hear that, you keep that conversation alive. We should and we will continue to keep this conversation alive. We may not have the big coverage of the CNNs, the MSNBC, the Fox TV, but guess what? We keep it alive by telling our story. Social media put together is even far more a platform that we can use more than even all these cable networks that we have, whether it's France 24 or whichever one, BBC or whatever. Guess what? All those on Twitter and on whatever, just go to it, hashtag Ngarbuh Massacre 2020, 14 2020, hashtag what has been done. See how it will go. Just tweet and remind people the massacre happened. You will never be forgotten. Ngarbuh Massacre, February 14, 2020. Victims not forgotten. Tweet that. See how it will go. Of course, I know that some people will want to stop it. They will want to shut it down. But it will go. The power of the media is not only left now to the big cable companies. Each one of us as an individual, we have the power to also effect that change and bring awareness. So awareness is one of those. Telling our story, reminding people of it. But I can guarantee you, not even 1% or 0.5% of the population in the US know about the Ngarbuh Massacre. So there's a whole lot of people that we still have to educate.
Yeah.
Our story should never get still. Don't think it's 5 years old, so everybody has heard everything. We have heard it for ourselves. But what about the others out there? Pregnant woman,
wonderful,
children. Just think about the number of people. So that's one thing. And my patience, I will take this liberty to even go ahead and say, once we get to Boya, there are some things that we should do as a nation. To keep our people not only patriotic, but to know that we value the lives of every individual Ambazonian. Some of these things, I think we should create a space. We should create space. Think about, you go to Washington, D.C., there is a World War II memorial, there is a Korean War memorial, there is this memorial space. There is space for every major war, World War I, World War II, whatever, Gulf War that America has been involved in, Korean War, whatever, they have a space. and you go in there and walk through, and you see things written. We will create a space in Ambazonia for all these memories, so we don't lose them. These names of these victims, as many as we can, should be listed in those spaces. They paid the ultimate with their lives, their blood spilled. They had a name, they had a family, and it was cut short. So we don't want hope to be lost. We don't want the victims to be re-victimized. So we would tell the story. We will build a national memorial for them, and we continuously. What my question, my patience, you are the host, but I would turn this question to our viewers. How can you help us get this story out? How can you help us get to Buea faster? How can you help the story of Southern Cameroons denied sovereignty, and how can you get that out? How can you tell the story and let the world know that our land is occupied, and we are occupied by another country, and another nation, and we are being victimized? Good example, I would say, we talked about introspection. One of the things we should do is support the struggle financially. Use your time. Get mentally involved. Use your skills, both professionally, both prayerfully. Get involved at your grassroots level. You have LGS, we have counties, and we have the federal level. Get involved at any level and push forward so that we are able to make sure that we can go further and faster, because we'll be many. Come join. Don't stay. It shouldn't remain a story that, oh, something happened and then it faded off, and then we remained in the shadows. Of course, some of us may never, if all else fails, or if there is a delay, some of us will never be able to step back into the land of our birth because of what is happening. Yes, some people have already poured their blood on that land, but guess what? There is still hope. There is still courage. Don't stumble. Keep alive. Support. Be passionate. Be passionate. You know, when we are passionate, La Republique doesn't like it. They want us to feel like victimized people who don't know what they are doing and are tired, exhausted, and are ready to give up. No, don't let that be our portion. We should be re-energized, and we should refocus and move on. And the journey of 1,000 steps starts with one step. The marathon doesn't end quickly, but it ends with a victory by crossing the finish line. We want to cross that finish line at Buea.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much, Winnie. Of the second topic that has to do with the month of February. So, and I see you're in your pink or almost red, which is some sort of the color for the month of February for the heart health. So again, this month, February, in the United States of America, it may be observed all over the world too. It's a Heart Health Month, and it's a month to raise awareness of the heart health, knowing that the heart, most of the leading cause of death in most parts of the world is due to heart diseases. So, Winnie, talking about this health topic, what is really heart health?
are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.